Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I have been meaning to make some TSW videos or just videos on healing and detoxing for a while now. I have my watermelon juice with me. This is actually like a slushy watermelon juice. I had put it in the freezer and then let it kind of get pretty icy, and it is so refreshing that way, especially because
wow,
it's been in the hundreds all week. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, so first off, the reason why I wanted to talk about watermelon juice is because it was one of the most impactful healing drinks that I have used in general. I used it during my TSW journey. I used it while I was pregnant, and I also used it during postpartum, and I use it almost every day now when they're in season. So I wanted to touch on those few things and just kind of like ways that you can use it. And if you are going through TSW, if you're pregnant, if you are just trying to detox your body, if you want to do a watermelon fast, like, so anything like that, like that's kind of what this conversation is going to be about. I would like to do more talking with you guys directly, you know, a little more on a personal level like this, in a way that I can just give you guys a bunch of information that I have to help you be able to help yourself, essentially. So everybody, I mean, most people that you know love watermelon. It's really sweet, it's really hydrating. It's one of the most hydrating drinks that you can give your body and give your cells. I first discovered how important and essential it was through many people, many of the healers, known as Dr. Sabi, the medical medium, also known as Anthony Williams, and then also Dr. Robert Morse. He talks all about like healing on a raw foods diet, eating raw fruits, melons. I think it says berries, fruits, and melons or something like that. As far as like when you're trying to heal something like really drastic within your body, any type of illness, autoimmune disease, anything like that. Well, anyways, I took a lot of information over the years from those three people and used them on myself as like a guinea pig to see what worked best for me. One of the most physical issues that I had that I had healed from was the TSW. And many of you guys have seen pictures of me go through TSW, which is also known as topical steroid withdrawal. It was very visible how bad my skin was for a little over 2.5 years. Most people that go through TSW are dealing with that for at least 4 years. And when I was going through it, I just wanted to get through it, you know, as soon as I could, as fast as I could. So I went the raw route and I experimented with different types of fruits and vegetables because I was plant-based, and I still am 100%. So first we can touch on the question of like, what is watermelon juice good for? I got some information from medical medium that I can just share with you guys directly so you know, but I'll also tell you my personal experience. For one, it reduces inflammation. It helps with edema, and I took notes, so in case you see me looking, that's what I'm looking at. And it also strengthens your vision. And then it's just really good for, it has a lot of vitamin A, a lot of vitamin C, and it, like I said before, really helps with hydrating the cells on a cellular level. Oh, I feel good. Okay. Oh, so refreshing, and it's like cooling me down. One thing that the medical medium talks about is how watermelon is very similar to your blood and your lymph fluid, which is the fluid that goes through your lymphatic system. So obviously, as I mentioned before, if you can find a watermelon with seeds, that's going to be even better because you're going to want to crunch on those seeds. The seeds are extremely good for your nervous system, and they have a lot of zinc and other vitamins and nutrients for them in them as well. So if you could get the seeded are going to always taste better and be better. But if you can't get the seeded, that's okay. Like this one that I have here was not a seeded watermelon, as you saw, so don't worry about it, but do try to pick the sweetest ones if you can, because it's going to make it so much more palatable. So here's a tip. When it comes to eating watermelon and drinking watermelon juice, you want to drink it on an empty stomach or when you have already digested your food. So that's why it's more beneficial like first thing in the morning, or if you've been eating raw, or if you haven't had any heavy meals, like wait until your body has digested your food and then go ahead and eat it, because watermelon digests within 15 minutes in the body. And that's also why it's super essential and amazing, because you can feel the effects like almost immediately of being like extremely hydrated, because your body processes it so fast. And that goes with all melons, all like honeydew and also cantaloupe. Those also digest within 15 minutes. So you also don't want to eat them with anything. They should be eaten alone. Nothing bad is going to happen if you eat it with other things. But what can happen is it could cause a little bit of gas or crampiness or a little uneasiness within your bowels, just because what happens is if you ate something that takes a little longer to digest and then you eat some watermelon on top of it, that watermelon is going to process within the body within those 15 minutes. So it will push everything, it'll start like digesting and getting ready to push things out within those 15 minutes. So it's great for, like I said, your digestion as well. So I typically like to drink my watermelon first thing in the morning. Like literally as soon as I wake up, I'll juice my watermelon and then I'll have celery, or I'll do the opposite. I'll have my celery juice, wait about 20 to 30 minutes, and then have my watermelon juice. So I do both. It really depends on like kind of what I'm feeling, or sometimes, to be honest, if I have to clean the juicer and like rinse all my celery, then I'll just drink my watermelon first. And it just tastes so much better like drinking it right away. But that's why I like to add the lemon to it, because it adds another layer of like detoxing and some extra vitamin C, as well as some electrolytes if you add the lemon to it, which you don't have to, but I personally like the taste when the watermelons are extremely sweet. Sometimes it's a little too sweet for me to drink a ton of the watermelon juice, but I noticed that when I add lemon to it, it makes it so much more easier for me to drink. Like I could drink it all day. I could literally fast on it. And that is one thing that I will say about watermelon juice as well when it comes to detoxing. Now, you want to cleanse your body, which I think all of us should cleanse our body at least once a year, doing like a 1 to 2 week cleanse, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's just eating raw, whether it's juicing, whether it's going on some type of fast or cleansing with juices and fruit. I've noticed that when I drink watermelon juice, compared to any of the other detoxing that I've done when it comes to eating raw or juicing, I find that watermelon, I feel the most satiated. Like I don't crave or want anything else, and it makes it really easy for me to continue to do it day after day. Now, for me, for example, I'm still breastfeeding. My son is 1 year and 9 months. I'm still breastfeeding him. And then also while I was pregnant and then postpartum, I did not do any detoxing. So if you're a mom and you're pregnant, and when I say detoxing, I mean like fasting. So not eating food, just only doing watermelon. I would suggest doing that if you are not breastfeeding and also if you're not pregnant. But if you are just wanting to do some cleansing on your body and to give your body a break from even eating food, I would highly suggest doing the watermelon cleansing, watermelon detox, whatever you want to call it, with either just watermelon by itself or the watermelon with the lemon, because it's very easy to do. And then you can just buy the watermelons from the store. I know that Sprouts has them usually for like $7-8 for the really big ones that are seeded. Sometimes you can get them for $6 if they have an overload amount of them. And then also like Trader Joe's, I think, has them for $6, like the bigger ones. I saw some places, obviously these places are in the United States, but I did see some places like Rayleigh's that had them for like $8 or $9. I kind of steer clear from those because I'm like, or Costco even. But wait till they go on sale, because that's when you'll notice like you'll be able to get a bunch of watermelons. But basically it's like $6 a day. If you're gonna do a cleanse, you're gonna continue to drink watermelon until you feel full. That's basically how you do it. This is not about depriving yourself from calories. This is not about that. It's literally allowing your body to cleanse. The reason why watermelon juicing or a watermelon cleanse helps the body detox is because you're not putting anything in the body that's going to force it to digest. And when we are eating food, and when I say digest, I mean like working with food, because you could essentially like just eat the watermelon if you wanted to. There are some people that need that feeling of like actually chewing something, and that's awesome as well. You can also do that. I prefer to just drink it. It's a little bit easier for me, especially when I'm on the go. But sometimes if I do feel like, oh my gosh, this is a really good, sweet, amazing watermelon, sometimes I do want to just like chop it up and eat it. So it's kind of like your own preference on like what you'd like to do. So while I was going through TSW, I would drink watermelon every day, especially during the summer. every day that I could get a watermelon, I would have watermelon juice. And the reason why it was so important for me was because when I was going through the wrinkled stage, and I'll show you some pictures here, when I was going through the wrinkling stage, I looked like I was literally like in my 70s. Like, it was so crazy, and I was just like, oh my gosh, is my skin gonna go back to normal? Like, what is this? But then I saw a lot of pictures of people's skin that look like this as well, so I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna get through this, but how do I even just get through the day with being able to like look at myself or go somewhere without looking so wrinkly and like my skin's literally wrinkled and like peeling off? And this was the trick. So what would happen was I would literally drink all my fluids in the morning. I'd also do lemon water, but like obviously through TSW, I'm gonna make more videos on like what I would eat during the day, throughout the day, when I was eating like raw and stuff. But the watermelon juice was like, it was clutch. It was my go-to, especially on those days that you're feeling like really defeated, when you don't want to make anything to eat, when you don't want anything that's going to take a bunch of your energy because you're literally just like maybe stuck, even in like just one of those sad days where it's really tough on you, and you just need a break. Watermelon juice was for sure that for me. Literally, I would drink watermelon juice, and I would do about at least 32 ounces, but you can I would do like 32 to 64 ounces. And so typically my day would start, I'll just tell you guys kind of like how my mornings would go while I was going through TSW. I would do 32 ounces of lemon water, 32 ounces of distilled water, and I would squeeze one whole lemon in there, and I would drink that, wait 30 minutes, then I would have my celery juice, wait another 30 minutes, and then I would have my watermelon juice. And then some days I would have like the heavy metal detox smoothie. But every day, even if I didn't do the lemon water, or even if I sometimes I would do the watermelon juice first, it just depended. But watermelon juice, like literally, I could see the difference within hours of my face looking less wrinkly. Like, I swear to you by it. And that was like, that's why when so many people are like, oh my gosh, you know, like these collagen pills or this and that, this works to make your skin all nice and plump. Literally, I was able to see the difference from what I was consuming. And as you guys may know, cooked food dries out the skin and oxidizes the body, whether we like it or not. And listen, your girl loves some cooked food, cooked vegan food at that, because I don't eat animals or dairy or anything like that anymore. By the way, it's been over 7.5 years for me. I'm almost about to hit my 8-year mark in January. But yeah, it was literally a staple for me. And so what I would say, to know that you're kind of like in that wrinkly stage, what I would do is like, I knew I was in it because like I would pull the skin up from my skin on either my hand or my arms or even on my face, and the skin would come back real slow, almost like a really old person. And what that means is that you have thick blood. It means that your blood is thick and your lymphatic system has thick fluid in it. You don't want that. You want it to be nice and loose, and like you want your blood to be flowing well, you know? So there are certain fruits and vegetables that help our body do that. And of course, raw vegetables and fruits are going to be the best. They're going to be like top tier. And so watermelon juice right away, like I said, I would notice that difference. And I mean, I've drank some watermelon. I've actually been eating all raw today, and my skin, the way that I eat, my skin always looks good, but like you can just see it in my skin. Like, I have amazing skin, and I love that for me. And so, but I definitely always stay hydrated. I do my celery juice daily, and this is something that I just do regularly. I juice it for me, my boyfriend, and the baby on a regular basis. When watermelons are in season, we have watermelon juice almost every day. And when it's not in season, it's hard to get. Like, you know, obviously we have other things. We still do our celery juice, and I'll make other juices, or I'll do like lemon water and stuff. But while the watermelons are in season, y'all, we are on these all the time. Also, something that I didn't know until Medical Medium talked about this is that the rind is extremely essential for mineral salts. So that's something that you can juice separately as well. I didn't do that back then, but now that if I knew what I know now, I would totally be juicing the rind as well. Obviously, you want to make sure that like they're coming from a good source, and that like ideally that they would be like organic. It's one of the most highest sources of chlorophyll that you can get in food. How amazing is that? So I just thought that was really cool. Wanted to share that with you guys. So definitely like juice that as well. Listen, we are growing some of our own watermelons this year, so I will let you guys know how that turns out as well. So yeah, if you're dealing with thick skin, if you're dealing with edema, which is the swelling of the limbs, any other type of health issues that you need a detox from, do some watermelon juicing. You can even use it as a meal replacement. A lot of people want to say like, oh, like that's too much sugar. Fruit sugar is not the same as processed sugar, you guys. It is essential for our body, and it has a ton of glucose, which is really good for your brain, which is really good for your liver, and it gives your liver a break without having any of the fats. So in my last video, you guys probably heard me talk about how I removed fats when I was trying to heal, and that was really important. And watermelon doesn't have any large amounts of fats or anything like that. Every fruit and vegetable has a tiny amount of fat in it, but it's those overt fats that come from, like, you know, avocados or nuts and seeds or oils or anything like that. Those types of things that are more higher in fat content, those you want to like stay away from. They're not bad for you, but just stay away from them, because while you're detoxing, it slows the detox down. I'm going to give you an example of how much I drink watermelon juice. I drink it about at least 4 times a week. If I could every day, I can. I'll totally do watermelon juice. And watermelon juice is my favorite when I'm going out somewhere with my son or we're going to a party. I'll definitely pack my food, but watermelon juice is just kind of easy for me to grab, because I don't expect a lot of people to be able to have food that I'm going to be able to consume. And when I say that I'm going to be able to consume, I'm really strict on like the foods that I eat and everything that I put in my body. So I don't expect people a lot of times to be like, oh, we have vegan food, but it's like loaded with canola oil or has a bunch of like weird processed stuff in it. We don't do that. So I always bring my own food and bring food for my son, and make sure I have like our juices, our like watermelon juices that are like easy for us to just, because it'll keep you pretty full and like satiated. Okay, so another thing I wanted to know is, while I was pregnant, I didn't get any Braxton Hicks. I had an amazing pregnancy, you guys. Like, I didn't even feel like I was pregnant half the time. I had a ton of energy, never had any cramping, had an amazing delivery at home. I had a home birth with my son, and guess what I was drinking before and after I was giving birth? Watermelon juice. So when I tell you that this stuff keeps you hydrated, you guys, it really does. And I never had any problems with the amount of fluid that I had in any amniotic fluid that I had. I never had any issues with that. I noticed that a lot of women usually do get Braxton Hicks because they're dehydrated. And when I was pregnant, I would drink 64 ounces at least a day of watermelon juice. When I was pregnant, I was making sure that I was finding watermelon. Even when they weren't in season, I would still get the like small ones at Trader Joe's and buy multiple of those. It was really important for me to feed my baby everything that he was like essentially going to need, and that I was going to need for the best labor, for the best development of his brain and his body. Because listen, y'all, when we having these babies, we are making them from scratch, okay? And I know a lot of people like to say, oh, it doesn't matter what you eat. Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because if you don't have in your body all the essentials that your baby needs, the baby's going to pull it from you. So in that case, I wanted to make sure that I was good too, because I knew that I wanted to give him the best. I wanted to give him the best start at life. So I would drink 64 ounces a day. And I had no issues, you guys. I didn't have morning sickness. I literally had the easiest pregnancy I could have asked for. And I'm super grateful. I really like thank myself, because I really was strict on like what I ate, what I put in my body, what I did for myself. I was very active. I worked out while I was pregnant. So yeah, that's a whole nother video, but you kind of get the idea. Another topic, when it comes to postpartum, a lot of women have issues with producing enough milk, and a lot of that has to do with your diet and what you're eating and what you're drinking. Those first few weeks after you have a baby, you have this like extreme hunger, because your body is trying to figure out how much milk it needs to make for your baby or babies if you have multiples. And so it takes a bunch of calories, and it also takes a bunch of fluids from your body. So you need to be extremely hydrated, or you can start to feel lightheaded, or your body just won't be able to produce the adequate amount of milk for your baby. So I did a ton of the watermelon juice as well. I had that every day, along with my celery juice. I also did celery juice while I was postpartum, and I still do it now and I still produce enough milk. For Kyrie, he drinks milk from me morning, afternoon, and night, 3 times a day still. If I end up stopping, it's gonna be because I choose to, and not because I'm not producing anymore. Let's just put it that way. Another thing, just like while we're talking about postpartum, that was really good for milk production, it was potatoes and a little bit of avocado. Like that was extremely essential for me as well. And I literally was dripping milk everywhere. I had so much milk, you guys. I was able to create a nice stash, and I did exclusive breastfeeding where I only breastfed from the boob, and I still only do that. So we'll make a whole nother video on the whole postpartum breastfeeding stuff. But yeah, so that's just kind of like my intro to why there's so many reasons, and probably many more, why watermelon is just so amazing for you. And what I will say is, when it comes to the lemon, if lemon is one of those foods that makes you really itchy while you're in TSW, if it makes you really itchy, then make sure that you just remove the lemon for now and then just try and add it later. What I noticed while I was going through TSW is that there were some foods that I knew were healthy for me that were bothersome to my skin because it was detoxing me too strong, and I would just like itch like crazy. For example, papaya was one of those for me, and papaya is known to be really good for your skin. It has a lot of beta carotene in it. A lot of orange foods like sweet potatoes, papaya, stuff like that, they have like a lot of beta carotene in it, and it's really good. Carrots, it's really good for your skin. But I would, as soon as I would eat them, and I was eating raw at the time, I literally would rip my skin open because it would itch so bad. So I had to take a break from them because it would drive me crazy. So I took a break from them for a few months, and then I reintroduced them, and then they were fine. Definitely try that out. But watermelon by itself never actually bothered my skin. It was very easy on my skin. It was very easy on my digestion. One thing I will tell you is, if you have never done like a watermelon cleanse or anything before, and you start doing watermelon cleansing, and that's whether you're just eating it or just drinking it, you may notice that your digestion and your bowels may start to move really fast. You may even have some diarrhea. Nothing bad where it's like you're in pain or anything like that. It'll just start moving things. Let's just put it that way. It's going to start detoxing you. When you do a cleanse with something like this, your body's like, oh my gosh, if you remove the fats and stuff, and all the extra, heavier foods, your body finally has its chance to like remove all the BS that you've been putting in your body for years. So I can talk about this forever. I need to get to like editing this video, and I think I said the most of like what I wanted to say. It's really, really a great addition to like a regular everyday lifestyle. If you have it year round, you are lucky. I'm here in California, and like I said, Sonoma County area, and it gets really hot in here in the summer, but when wintertime, we don't really get like watermelon aren't in abundance like that out here. But anyways, I hope you guys got some good information from me, from my personal experience and what I've learned. And I can't wait to do more videos like this where I'm kind of able to explain more of like the things that I've done that have really helped me throughout my journey. But yeah, I love you guys, and stay tuned. If you like more videos like this, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Okay, so let's get started with making this watermelon juice. This way is without a juicer. I have a juicer, but I typically like to do it this way. It's a little bit faster sometimes, and I get the most bang for my buck because the pulp is basically dry once I use the nut milk bag. So I couldn't find a seeded watermelon, so right now I have, obviously you see some little seeds there, but it's not like full of seeds like the long watermelons that you can find at like Sprouts or at the Mexican or Asian stores. So while I start to cut up the watermelon, you can really cut it however you like. This is just the easiest and quickest way I do it. I have one pile that I use to put the rinds in, and then I have another container which is basically the high-speed blender because I'm going to fill this up all the way to the top and blend up my watermelon. So while I'm chopping this up, let's talk about how to pick a watermelon. When we're picking a watermelon, we want it to be really juicy, we want it to be really sweet, and we also don't want it to be really mushy. I personally like mine with a little bit of some crispness to it. Not necessarily crunchy, but you know what I mean. So I usually pick mine based off of how they look and then how they feel when you thump them. You know those yellow patches that a lot of watermelons have? That's like the spot that it usually sits in, and that usually tells you that it's going to be a nice sweet one. It also might have some spider looking brownish kind of web on them, which is usually on the yellowish spot. That also indicates a nice sweet one. And then next, I usually hit it with my whole hand, and that's how I'm able to tell because it kind of will feel a little bit like there's jello inside, almost as if there's some reverb that you get back from it. You'll get better at it the more you practice, so the more that you start melon thumping, the more you'll know what I'm talking about. And as far as the lemon goes, you can use as much as you want. I like to use a lot sometimes, but today I just did 1 lemon. I think I might have did 1.5, but I just showed 1 lemon. The more you do, the more it'll kind of even taste like a watermelon lemonade. And as you can see, I do this separate with my little handheld lemon juicer. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit because next we're going to pour this into the blender container, and then we can blend it all together, and then we are going to strain it. Now I wanted to mention that I do actually have a juicer. The one I have is really old and I'm just kind of waiting until it croaks until I get a new one. But because the watermelon pulp is so soft, it tends to not completely juice everything and it leaves the pulp a little bit wet. Therefore, I feel like I'm missing out on a little bit of the juice. So I like to do it this way. So I'm blending it up here, and then I'm going to pour this eventually into a nut milk bag. And I will link this nut milk bag down below in the description. I mean, look at this one. You can tell I use it a lot, but I don't have to buy these often. You just wash them and they last a very long time. They usually come in packs of 3. The reason it looks this color is because depending on what you're juicing, it just stains the mesh a little bit. But basically, you're just pouring this into the nut milk bag and then you just squeeze all of the juice out. And then you have your juice all ready. And if you're one of those people that are doing some type of watermelon cleanse or something like that, you do not have to juice it. You can just blend it up and drink it like that. Because as I've mentioned before, the fiber is actually really good for you. So it really has to do with preference and basically like knowing what you're doing with the watermelon, like what type of cleansing you're doing. Because essentially anytime you're juicing, you're removing the fiber so that you can get a lot of the micronutrients in a much quicker way without using and exerting a lot of the body's energy to digest. And so after I have strained out as much of the juice as possible with my hands by squeezing it, I then pour all of the watermelon juice in containers and then put them in the fridge. I'm going to juice the rest of this watermelon, but I don't show it on camera. And just this medium-sized watermelon, I got 124 ounces of watermelon juice, which is a lot. So you really get your bang for your buck when it comes to juicing watermelon, because when you think about it, if you're juicing other fruits and veggies, it can cost you a lot more money to get this amount of juice. And that is all, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. If you have any questions, leave them below.